So what we're hoping and praying for is that the microphone does not pick up the fan, because the fan is very warm. Or no, the fan is not very warm. The room is very warm without the fan. Well, I think I'm going to give it a minute to see if anybody comes, and if nobody comes, then it's double confirmation for what I plan to talk about at the end of the stream. And if nobody comes, then we're going to have a very short stream. I think. Cheers.
I don't have the key yet.
Yo. Sounds good. My wife has left the building to go to her band practice, her orchestra practice, which is partially the reason why well, it's not partially, it is completely the reason why I stream at this time, because it is by far the most convenient. She's not here. I am here. I'm not bugging her with all my chattering and nonsensical gibberish about narrative and game. This feels like kind of a somber stream for me right now. Because again, I'm sitting here alone. Wondering what exactly I'm doing. I mean, I could type at everyone, but I already typed at developer, right? So that would ping relevant people. But I don't blame anybody if you're muting the server. I mute basically every Discord server I'm a part of, because it's annoying as fuck. Especially when you have like 8, like 8 different, more than 8 and above. When you have more than 8 Discord servers and you receive notification from all of them, within 5 minutes you will be receiving notifications from none of them, because it is way too annoying to to receive notifications from 8 different servers. So all of my servers, it's the first thing I do. I join a server and then I mute it. So I get it. I don't expect people to know that there's a stream going on. It's interesting, content creation, because content creation is... I learned a couple of things from Pigney way back when, which is that content creation is as much about consistency as it is about the quality of the content, right? If you have 5 out of 10 content, but 10 out of 10 consistency, you will be about as successful as somebody who has 10 out of 10 content and 1 out of 10 consistency, or even 5 out of 10 consistency, right? It's like a 50% chance that you're going to upload something on Tuesday. Like you say, my day is Tuesday. Look out for me on Tuesday, okay? That's when you get new content from me, is on Tuesday. And then 50% of the time you upload your content, 50% of the time you don't. Even if it's 10 out of 10, people are going to be like, fuck this guy. Just fuck him right to hell. I am not going to subscribe to this shit when I don't know if it's going to come every Tuesday. Right? It's just how we are. I don't know why. It's because what you're asking people to do as a content creator, you're asking people to add you to their routine, right? It's like saying, hey, you know that thing that you do, free time, like, that free time you have on Thursday evenings or Thursday mornings. How do you feel about sharing that with me? How do you feel about spending your free time with me at that time? Right? And most people are like, what? No. Not a chance. Right? The content has to be good enough. It has to justify its spot in that time slot, right? And I have thousands of time slots. Or however many hours there are in a week, or is how many time slots I have. So if there's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, what's that in math? I don't know why I'm even looking this up. I'm just kind of curious. How many hours are in a week? 24 times 7 is 168. So I have 168 time slots a week, right? And most of those are filled with, not most of them, a bunch of them, not most of them. A bunch of those hours are filled with various things, right? So from 8 to 8:30, I'm eating breakfast. 8:30 to 8:45, I'm cleaning. And then 9 to, I don't know, noon is relative free time or project time, or, you know, that's about to change because I'm going to start a new job with DHL on July 5th. So, I mean, it wouldn't really affect the stream because I would only be working in the mornings, but because I would never work in the evenings. I would much rather work in the morning. I would work at 5 o'clock in the morning before I'd work at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Like 100 times out of 100. Anyway, so the point I'm trying to make, though, is that let's say your average person has like a commute of a half an hour to 45 minutes. And you're saying, okay, every Tuesday, I come out with a new thing for you. And if you want, you may fill your time slot, your Tuesday time slot, with my thing. Your like driving to work time slot, or your driving home from work time slot, or your lunch break time slot, or your study break time slot, right? And when you're making content, you do kind of have to think in these terms, right? You have to understand that what you're asking people to do is effectively spend money or time on you, and your content should match that, right? But the thing that I find very interesting is that we have a lot of time, and we have a lot of time slots, but we have almost no patience for inconsistent routine, right? So imagine that you subscribe to a podcast or whatever, and you wake up on Tuesday and you're like, okay, it's time for Billy Boy's podcast that I'm spending time on. This is my Tuesday routine, is to listen to Billy Boy, the podcast, right? And so you get into your car and you refresh your podcast feed to see if Billy Boy's podcast is there, and it's not there. Oh no. The routine has been broken. People will unsubscribe for that. You have to go on Twitter and announce why there is no content this week. No free content. Right? Even if it's high quality. Even if it's very high quality content. If you do not say why it cannot be in the routine, you lose people. And this is something that I actually just noticed with both my stream and my blog. So for those of you, a lot of you have, most 99% of you probably don't know that I have a blog about Magic that I started about a month and a half, 2 months ago. And I just write about Magic cards. Like I write about narrative in Magic cards because I think it's interesting. It's not like something I'm looking to really do a lot with. It's just something I find kind of interesting. Anyway, so and it's still looking like nobody's going to come, so I think the stream is going to end after I go on this little rant and announce some things. Because I'm annoyed. All right, so okay, so with my blog, I was doing some experiments because like my very first blog post, I posted it to the Magic subreddit, like the Magic the Gathering subreddit, and I said, hey, just so you know, I started a new blog about Magic story on their cards, like the entire ludic art, right? What is the holistic ludic art of let's see, I got one right of this card, right? So I'll pick a card and I'll write about it. And it got like 1,000 reads. Maybe it was unbelievable. It was like by far the most successful nonfiction piece I've ever written, by far. Like nothing even comes close. Was just this little dorky blog about Magic cards, right? And it was, I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy shit, thousands of reads over like the next couple of weeks, right? Like I think I cracked 3,000 reads by the first month of my. I mean, I didn't expect to get that until like 6 months in, but I cracked 3,000, right? So then I wanted to do an experiment. I wanted to see, because every week I kept up with it. I would write the article, and then I would take the article and I'd post it to the Magic subreddit and to another subreddit about that. It's more for Magic the Gathering story focused people, right? People who really like the story of Magic. So I would post it on Magic the Gathering subreddit and the story subreddit, and I would do that every week, and I would get pretty consistent numbers from people. I get a lot of clicks, a lot of reads, right? No subscribers, which is another funny and interesting thing about content and content creators, is that how they subscribe to, or like content consumers, right? How they remind themselves of content is very interesting, right? It's kind of like they're like cats in a way. Like they kind of don't. Cat's not the right word. The thing I'm thinking of is that they sort of, they want to get used to you being around, right? And they're not going to subscribe because they don't want to get hurt again. So they they take a chance and they watch it and they go, oh, that was interesting, I liked that. Anyway, and then they exit out and they completely forget to subscribe. They completely forget to do any of the things that they need to do in order to keep up with what you might be doing in the future, right? It's just a matter of like, whatever. If I see him again, I see him again. You know, like it's not a particularly well thought out plan for consuming content, right? That's not really how I am. I'm much more of in the line of like, if I really like your stuff, I'm going to be sure that I follow it, or I'm going to be sure that I do what I can to remember that it exists. Like I'll follow the Twitter account, or I will subscribe to the YouTube. I have like hundreds of subscriptions on YouTube, and that becomes kind of an unwieldy problem, and I've had to go back and like purge them, but it's just kind of how I am. It's like if I like something, that's kind of rare. I mean, even though I have hundreds of subscriptions, it's still like, of all the different things I've watched on YouTube, or all the different channels I've watched, or all the different, of all the different contents that I've consumed, I haven't subscribed to even 50% of them, right? But anyway, so that's not really the point I'm trying to make. Back to the point I am trying to make. So I wanted to, after about 3,000 reads or so, I wanted to conduct an experiment. And so I wrote what I consider to be one of my best articles. I thought it was just really well put together. I liked it a lot, and it felt like a good article to do this experiment on, because it's the quality of the content for what the content is. I mean, it's not like, I'm not like Kubrick over here. I'm writing about Magic cards, but like for what this particular, I mean, it's a blog about Magic cards. It's a pretty good blog about Magic cards. And this is a particularly good version of this blog, or a rendition, right? Is this particular post. So I post it to my blog, and then I don't post it to the subreddits. Like none. I just don't. I don't advertise it whatsoever. My Twitter automatically does, but I didn't post it to Reddit, which is my main or not revenue, but my main source of new viewership. And I got like 9 reads. So it went from like my normal day, like a day one post, like I just finished my blog and I post it. My normal day is 600 to 700 reads. 600 to 700 reads on the first day, right? The day that I don't advertise it, I get 9. And that is completely and utterly fascinating to me. Because here's what happened with the stream, in something that I have noticed recently. Still nobody is here. So I started this stream last September, October, something like that. And it was originally birthed from the streams that I was doing with my university before I graduated. So I stopped working for their stream, which is kind of a bummer because that stream was doing quite well. Anyway, it's not really the point. So the point being that I was pretty amped, pretty excited about the stream, and I was relatively consistent except for the time when I got COVID, and that laid me the fuck out, and then I moved. Well, actually, I moved first, and then I got COVID while moving, and then I got laid the fuck out by COVID, so I couldn't stream for a couple weeks. And I did notice that after that, it seemed like it kind of went away, right? Like whatever Vandayaha had before, it was kind of gone. Like there was not nearly as much enthusiasm. Rinzai tried. I'll give Rinzai that. But also I was kind of gone a little bit. It's been a really weird and tumultuous first year in Germany, where like I was in and out of the hospital and I got COVID and we moved and I haven't had a lot of money and I've been, I haven't been able to get a job because I have to go to German class every day. By the way, I graduated from German class on Monday, so I'm done with that finally. So now I can get a job and I can get money and, all these great things. And so the wind was somewhat taken out of the sails, as it were, after I went down with COVID. And then it started to pick up again. We were doing the jams and we were streaming and we were commenting on games and people were coming and there was talking and, we had our Mr. C time and I don't know where the hell he went, but that's fine. And there was, there was people and there was a community and it was going. And then I basically ran out of energy on the project. Like I couldn't bring myself to come into the Discord and comment on other people's stories because I knew that I was going to be doing it on the stream. And I didn't want to double dip because I feel like I'm double dipping all the time. I feel like I'm constantly saying the same things over and over and over again. Constantly. Right? And it's just really frustrating. It's just a really frustrating thing. And I get it. I mean, it's part of offering a service, right? And that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm kind of offering a service under the guise of content creation. What I'm effectively doing is offering a free place for you to come and submit your games, and then I tell you how to make your dreams come true, right? Through narrative. Your narrative dreams come true. I tell you how to be better at it, right? I fix it for you. Or I give you advice. And, I mean, I spent a lot of money to do that for my writing, right? Not a lot of people just give that information out willy-nilly. They don't just, give it out for free. That's why you see, watch any interview with a writer. It's like the most annoying shit in the world, where the writer gets up on the stage and he's like, they're like, what advice do you have for an aspiring writer? And then the writer says, and you just gotta keep writing, man. You just gotta keep writing. It's like, yeah, thanks. What? It's annoying, right? But part of me actually kind of gets it though, now, because saying the same shit over and 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 over again to people who, and I get it, there's new people, they come in, they don't understand, and I'm fine with explaining that to new people. But one of the things that can be very frustrating is saying, okay, here's how it works in this, right? Here's how you're supposed to write it in this circumstance. And then people say, yeah, but that's not how it always works. And I'm like, I know. But it's how you should be trying to do it if you want to get better at writing. And they're like, yeah, but there's an example. There's an example that I know where that's not how it works. Like, yeah, I know. I know there's an example. There's always an example. There's always an exception. There's always a good example of bad writing, right? Always. And after saying that for like the 800,000th time, I just I was completely burned out. And I thought, okay, well, here's how I could probably do it, is if I back away from the Discord and I focus on the jam, and I focus on I focus on only talking about this stuff when I'm streaming, right? Whether that be like a professionally made game or a game jam game. Then yeah, great, right? Then I won't be so out of energy. I won't be so frustrated with the stream. I won't be so frustrated with making this content. I won't be so frustrated with blah, 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 blah. And then I noticed a really weird feeling. Hey, Corbett Ash, how's it going? Then I noticed a very weird feeling that I started experiencing in regards to Vandayaha, which is, I remember many years ago, before my MFA, before I got into my MFA, my dad also writes fiction, not professionally, but he writes. He's written a couple of novels, and he's currently writing a novel now, and again, not professionally, but we used to meet up and talk about fiction and how to get better at fiction and stuff. And I didn't know anything about anything at the time, but I did consider myself a relatively okay writer, just not like a good storyteller, right? I wasn't a very good storyteller, because I didn't understand the structure of story. I didn't understand how to tell stories and scenes and write arc and all that stuff. And I was really frustrated because I had been applying for MFAs year after year after year, and I wasn't getting in, and I wasn't sure why, and blah-da-da-da-da. And so then I was talking to my dad, and he was writing his novel, and he was going along, and he has, like, I forget the name of the writer. Starts with an M. Not Melville. Mervyn? I can't remember. It's some writer from Texas. He said that you, in order to be a writer, you need to have what is called divine arrogance, right? And that is to believe, despite the absolutely ridiculous odds of becoming a writer, the absolutely ridiculous odds, you have to believe that you can become one, right? And the people who do believe that may or may not, right? But it's a prerequisite for becoming a writer, right? You have to. Otherwise, you just won't do it. I think he's completely wrong. I think that there's many more ways to strategize. There's also a matter of, like, what is considered to be a successful writer and not a successful writer. Like, am I a successful writer if I write for a video game company? I mean, I'm not really writing my own fiction. I'm writing a fiction within a world that is set up by, my boss, right? Am I not a success because I didn't write my own novel, right? Because that's aspiring to something completely different. and takes a different skill set, right? So to be, I mean, I'm still a writer, but am I like Cormac McCarthy? You know, so I think ultimately I think that guy's wrong. But anyway, that's not the point. The point that I'm trying to make is that my dad had that, right? He's just like, he has the divine arrogance to believe like that his book is the book that will actually change the world. And I was telling him like I just am so frustrated because I know this is what I need to do. I need to go to an MFA because whatever it is, whatever I have, I can't get better in my current state. I need to go. I need to leave. I need to go somewhere else. I need to be taught by somebody else. I need something. And then my dad said, well, maybe what it is it's time to accept that. I mean, it's not in these exact words, but he said, well, one thing I do know is that you're an excellent editor, right? And I know that you, Dylan, can make my book the best book it could be because you're such a good editor. And I remember being absolutely enraged by that. And he didn't know. I don't even think he meant anything negative by it. I think he was trying to say, like, he trying to give me a compliment and say, like, look, you do understand story, which I didn't at the time. But, because effectively what it sounded like to me that he said was, Dylan, one day you're going to make other people's dreams come true. Right? And I was so mad about this. Because I said that I am not in the business of making other people's dreams come true. I am in the business of making my dream come true. Right? I want to write fiction. I don't want other people to be what? Yeah, like I'm struggling. I'm getting mad thinking about it. Like, I don't live to make other people's fiction better. Right? I do this because talking about fiction makes me better at fiction. And because I like talking about fiction. That's something that's interesting. But this isn't something that I want to do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be the guy who's famous for commenting on fiction. Or editing game fiction. Or editing fiction. That's not my goal. My goal is to be a good fiction writer. And to write game fiction. If I can. Which doesn't look like it. It's not looking good. The closest I've gotten is Ubisoft, and it wasn't that close. It was like, maybe if you're better, right? And I was like, okay, it's weird, because I know I'm a good fiction writer. Anyway, once again, I keep getting sidetracked because I'm getting frustrated. So, what does this mean? Well, it kind of ties back to what I was saying earlier about how I was becoming extremely frustrated with Vadayaha. And I thought if I back away from it, that it would get better. But what I noticed is that the community is dying because I'm not doing anything, because I'm not there. And if I'm not there, if I'm not constantly talking, if I'm not responding to everybody's texts, then people assume that I am like AWOL, right? It's not that I'm AWOL, it's that I don't want to talk about it, right? Because I already dedicate an hour of my week, every week, to building this content. And this goes back to an even earlier point I made, which is that not only do the content acceptors, the content consumers, the content consumers, not only do the consumers have to make time in their schedule in order to fit in a new content creator, but the content creators also using their time to make content, right? And not all the content creators make is something that they want to make, right? They're making it because they know that it gets eyes. And I figured that by helping other people with their narratives, I would get more eyes on the idea of storytelling, right? I could get people thinking about story. I could get people associating story with me so that, for example, if I were to, I don't know, write a story or write a story for a game, that people might be interested in that because I spend my time helping all of the people who come and submit to my jams, right? And now I understand I'm the one making them. I get it. But I'm doing it for free. Like completely for free. And it's not just because I'm like a charitable dude. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not hoping that Twitch is going to pay me because I don't do any of the things that Twitch wants me to do. Like, I don't stream for 8 hours. I refuse. I don't stream 7 days a week because I fucking refuse. Like, that's not my goal. Again, I don't want to be a Twitch streamer. That's not my goal. My goal is not to be in the nichest of niche things. The cross section of narrative and video game development, right? Like that is not going to make a successful Twitch account. It's a niche within a niche within a niche. Storytelling within storytelling within game development within games. That's a crazy. It's such a small audience, right? But the small audience is usually the one that is very supportive. And I'm not saying that the community isn't supportive of me. That's not the point I'm trying to make. What I'm trying to make is that I just don't think that this is working. Like it's just not. It's not a successful stream. And you know, maybe that's down to me not advertising it enough, but I don't want to. I don't want to spend that time to do that. Maybe it's something to do with, well, I mean, I think I know what it is to do with, and that it's a niche within a niche within a niche. I just don't, there's not enough game developers who are looking to make really good stories in their games. And there's not enough people who give a shit about story enough to get better at it. They just don't care. And that's fine. You don't have to care. Right? You don't have to care about getting better at storytelling. Not a requirement. You have to like eat and you have to drink water and sleep. You don't have to get better at storytelling. So yeah, I just don't think that there's enough people who are really interested in it. I think there's a lot of people who think that they're good and that they'll write a story and then they'll say, tell me I'm good. And then I'll say, you didn't do story structure. And then they go, yeah, but it's good though, right? Yeah, there's some things that are good. And that's fine. Like if you come to me and you show me a story and you say like, hey, you know, what did you think about this? I'll find something I like about it. That's not hard for me to do. The thing that I will not ever be okay with is when you say, what advice do you have for me? And then I say, you should write in scene structure. And then they go, it's not a requirement. It's like, hey, then don't fucking ask. Don't ask me then. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. It's like going to a bike school and you're like, how do I ride a bike? And they're like, well, you got to put your feet on the pedals. And you're like, well, it's not like necessary. I could sit on the bike. I could take the pedals off and sit on the bike and walk it around. It's like, yeah, you could. Yeah, you could do that. That is an option. It's a really bad option, but it's an option. Versus the person who's just like, I'm just struggling. Like, so was it right foot first, left foot first? That person I'm fine to help with. It's like, yeah, put your right foot on the pedal, and then push off, and then your left foot on the pedal, and now you can start pedaling, right? That's something that I'm more interested in talking about. That's something that will make me vastly less annoyed. Anyway, I'm digressing again into my frustration. All right, so I've been thinking. I've been thinking. Back to the routine thing. So, I've known some people in this stream for like 2 years almost. Um, for a pretty good amount of time, like an impressive amount of time for people who just randomly met on the internet because they both like narratives and storytelling. And I've had some really awesome experiences working with Two Links and writing some stuff for Squishy Puff Dave, but those are the memories that actually stick out to me. Are the times that I got to do something, that I got to write. You know what I mean? Like that is mwah, 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 mwah. Those are always going to stick out to me because I am a writer. I am not an editor. And I could be a teacher. I would be happy to be a creative writing teacher if I got paid. But I'm not getting paid. I'm doing it for free. And I would rather spend this hour doing something else. Like if this was getting engagement, if people actually did give a shit, if people actually came. And I understand that there are some circumstances which make it kind of impossible. I understand that it's at like maybe not the most convenient time in what is very likely the most dominant region in Twitch, like the Twitch viewership for English speakers. You know, like most Twitch viewers who are English speakers are in America. And this is about noon, between 11 and 2 in America, right? But sorry, like there's just nothing I can do. I'm not going to stream at midnight. I'm not going to do it. Can't. I can't do it. It's too late. I go to bed at like 11:30. Sometimes earlier. And I wake up at 6. And I can't come straight here and start streaming. It's just not going to work. And then I got to take care of the dog, and I got to do my own writing, and, you know, I got to go to school, or I had to go to school. Now I have a job. Like, this is the time that I can stream, and this is about the time when people stream, when they're doing it like hobbying, right? But again, streaming isn't my hobby. Streaming is a way for me to do the thing that I would like to do, which is get people interested in stories so that they'll also read my stories. But nobody is. And that's fine. You know what I mean? That's fine. Would it be weird if you streamed your creative writing process? I don't know if that's if that would obstruct the process. It wouldn't. I did that during my MFA, actually. Like when I was in my MFA, that's how I kind of started streaming. I would just stream my Microsoft Word document as I was writing. I would just like listen to the one thing that kind of sucked is that I tend to try and listen to music, so I'll have to figure out how to, if I were to do something like that, I'd have to figure out how to like listen to music so that you guys can't hear it, or you can listen to something else. You know, like I could play, I don't know, some copyright free garbage over Twitch and then listen to my own music, because I tend to listen to music while I write. I don't have to, but I tend to, especially if I'm going to write for like a long time. But that is something that I would be much more interested in streaming. But I also just don't think it's going to get any viewers, because my stream when I was streaming before didn't get any viewers, and I would stream that for a lot, like for 3 or 4 hours, because that was the only thing I had to do. I was in the MFA, so I would just stream my writing. I didn't have a job. I was in school, and that, I mean, I got no viewers doing that. 6 maybe on like my best day, you know. So I don't know. I mean, it's something that I could try, but I also I'm thinking that, because I don't want to stop the game jams. That's the thing. Like I genuinely do enjoy. I genuinely really enjoy it when we're all here and I am talking about game narrative, and I am giving advice for game narrative. What I don't like, and first, I just don't think I want to stream every week. I think that that's just not a good idea. Because when I'm streaming every week, I get frustrated. Because I keep running into circumstances in which I'm like, I don't want to cancel the stream, right? I'm like, oh, I have a really good idea. I'd really like to write my story right now. or I'd really like to go on with my novel, or I'd really like to work on a blog post, or I'd really like to record something, or I'd really like to, I don't know, what have you, right? But it's like, no, this is my dedicated time slot for streaming, and then nobody fucking comes. And that shit drives me insane. And then when they do come, they say, well, actually, objective correlatives aren't necessary. I'm like, what? Hey, can you give me some advice, Dylan? Yeah, sure. You should use objective correlatives. They're not necessary. That shit drives me crazy. So I wouldn't mind continuing to do game jams, but I think I ultimately, like, I just gotta be a little bit meaner or something. I don't know. Like, because I'm going on. Oh, but I wanted to finish a point. So before I talk about that, I want to talk about this one point. So, Katon, our lovely Etienne, came to me, I don't know, last year, and he asked me, hey, do you want to do like a rev share on a Kickstarter project? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I didn't know I was going to be streaming with him until much later. I thought I was just going to be writing the story. Doesn't matter. It's been fun streaming with him. He's a hilarious person. If you haven't seen them, please go watch it. It's super funny to watch him talk. Anyway, so I go into the week, and then Etienne messages me, and he's like, hey, just so you know, we're streaming this week. I'm like, oh shit, that's right. I forgot about that. We're streaming this week. I promised. So, some times got mixed up. It ended up being on Wednesday, and I was like, oh shit, I thought we were going to do it here, and I was confused, and there was some confusion. I streamed with him on Wednesday. Thursday rolls around, and I was like looking at the clock. I'm like, it's 7 o'clock. I streamed yesterday. That's weird. Oh, well, I guess I don't have to stream. And so I didn't stream on Thursday because I just was like, I already did it. It must be Friday today. I had no idea. I just like, what do you know? I can't believe it. And then I realized, and I was so horribly embarrassed that I didn't even say anything, but I was just like, oh my God, Friday, the real Friday comes around, and I'm like, oh, I didn't stream. I streamed with Katon. I didn't stream Game Jam. And that was very funny. And since then, it has been silence. Because I fell out of the routine. And this goes back to a point I made before Corvid got here, that if you're a content creator, doesn't matter. If your content, and my content is not a 10 out of 10, but let's just say, if your content is a 10 out of 10 and you have consistency of 5 out of 10, you have 0 viewers. 0. If you have a content 5 out of 10 and consistency 5 out of 10, you have 0 viewers. If you have content 5 out of 10 with consistency 10 out of 10, you have 10 million viewers, right? Consistency is as important as the quality. It just is. And what I realized after that day that I missed was that there are some people like Corvid, right? Oh, hell, I figured you didn't want to overwork yourself. See? That tends to be how I think about content creators as well. Like if I, refresh my podcast and there's one that's not there, I'm like, maybe they decided to get a salad instead, right? And I'm like, I'll see you next week. No big deal, right? That's not how most people think, though. It's like they look at their phone, they're like, no new podcast? I guess they died. Unsubscribed. Like, that's it. And then it's over. And you can't get that viewership again. It's like starting from zero. Like you have to rebuild viewership. And I've done this a couple of times now. Like we had so many people with Neophyte, so many people. And then I was like, okay, they decided that I can't work there anymore because I don't go to the university. Fine, I'll make my own with strippers and or what is it? with blackjack and hookers. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go make my own with blackjack and hookers. So then I start, and I get some viewers, and then I miss one day, or like I missed like the 2 weeks. I lost everybody. I get a couple of the people back. I keep going. I miss a couple of days. I lose everybody, and it's like, dude, I can't do this. Like I can't keep up with this. I cannot think that if I miss a Thursday, that every little bit of work I put into this is gone. It's so brutal. It's so brutal. And I appreciate, like, Corvid is crazy. Well, not crazy. You're not crazy. You're awesome because you're always here. You're one of the most consistent viewers I have had since I've started this, right? And it's probably because of that mentality, right? You are a bit crazy. So am I. But you know what I mean? Like, it is amazing to me how fragile it is to be a content creator. And it all goes back to like the shit I've been saying for the last 30 minutes, which is just like, there's too many things in this particular version of content creation, whether that be like, I don't know, streaming can be a sort of art form, I think. I just think that, that this experiment is kind of like not dead, but what's a good word for it? It's like, so you remember that movie Avatar? Remember when the guy in the wheelchair goes into the, and I'm not trying to be like ableist, you know what I mean? But the movie is ableist, so, fuck James Cameron. So the guy is disabled, whatever, and he goes into the digital world and then becomes an alien. And then he can like run and he can shoot guns and bows and arrows, and he meets a cool girl and they get married, and right. This stream needs to do that. Does that make sense? Like, that's the transition it needs to go through. I don't know what that transition is, but it's not working now because the viewership hasn't grown at all since like 6 months. Like we get temporary growth in viewership, and I think it's because there are a lot of people who think that they're good writers when they're not. And there are a lot of people who think that they're going to be good game developers. They're going to be the next Lucas Pope. They're going to be the next whatever. They're going to be the next Yoko Taro. They're going to be the next Daisuke Ishiwatari. They're going to be the next Cliff Bleszinski. I don't know. The other game developer, Gabe Newell. They think they're going to be that next person, right? Concerned Ape. And they're not. And so they come into the stream and they make a game and they go, so is the story like a 10 out of 10? And I go, no, it's not a 10 out of 10, but here's the things you could do better. And they're like, you don't have to though. And then I'm like, okay, well then bye. And then they leave, right? And then they never come back. They never submit another game. They never, right? They never do anything else. It's just kind of like, and it's the same. It's amazing to me actually how similar this is to the MFA, because what Pinckney said when we were in the MFA was, look around in this room, in this workshop that we're in right now, okay? Look around. One of you will continue to write after this MFA. Maybe. That's fucking crazy, right? So if you have like, I think there was 15 people in our class. Pinckney said that of all the years he's taught, and he's taught for 30 years, and I think about him all the time now as a result of this stream. Like, I am constantly thinking about some of the things that Pinckney told me and the things that he would tell us, because he would constantly break the fourth wall of the teacher, right? Where he would say, like, I know what you're going to say. I've been doing this for a really long time. Whatever the thing you're about to say, it's wrong. It's a student thing and it's wrong, right? Like, he would say stuff like that. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, so he said that of like the 15 people in this room, maybe one of you will continue to write. And what he means by continue to write is to continue to write in a meaningful way. That is, that you are attempting to become successful in writing. Not necessarily monetarily successful, but readership, or monetarily successful will go on to get a book deal, will go on to publish short fiction, will go on to write for a company, will go on to write a television series, will go one, maybe. And he said, and this applies to everyone in all of these programs, right? We are considered the cream of the crop of the writing world, right? We are the brightest and best writers in the United States, or people who can apply to MFA programs. I don't think it's necessarily true. I think there's a lot of writers who are much better simply because they write a lot. But according to the Academy, we are the best and brightest writers. And the odds are like 1% that we will even go on to write meaningfully. You know what I mean? Like not just be Brandon Sanderson, like go on to publish a really small book at a really small press. Because people give up. They just give up. Like I wouldn't be surprised if I were to message everybody in my cohort in my year. I wouldn't be surprised if me and one other person still write, and everybody else stopped after the MFA. Because the MFA is brutal. Like when all you do is focus for 3 years on writing something good, and then you get to the end of the 3 years and it's okay. It's like the most disheartening thing in the whole world. And a lot of people, like I talked to a lot of people in the MFA with me, and they were like, after this, I'm done. Like I'm not a writer. Just not. Because a lot of people like to think of themselves as a writer. They like to think of the version of them who is a writer, right? And a lot of people like to do this with a lot of things. A lot of people like to think of themselves. Professional artists terrify me because you face those odds and keep going somehow. Yeah. Well, not only that, but like artists I don't really like artists. Like none of my friends are artists. Like I mean, I have some, but the people who I feel like relatively close to, the people who I enjoyed chatting with, I would say are a little bit more like me in that they're aware that artists are fucking weird. Right? I don't like the that guy or that girl who comes into the room and you're like, artist person, like ooh, no thanks. Because they just have like this air about them where they kind of walk into the room and they're like, communism. And you're like, whoa, communism. Yeah, my father, penis. And you're like, oh, Jesus. They're so arrogant and they're so just impenetrable that like ooh, no thanks. I would be more friends with John Krakauer than I would be with, I don't know, Grimes. And Grimes is like an artist, like bah, like capital A, capital R, capital T. Most of the artists I'm around are musicians. Maybe they have a different vibe. Yeah, it can depend. Like, I think because like the musicians, Pinckney actually used to say this all the time. He's like, stop hanging out with writers. Go hang out with some jazz musicians. That was his advice all the time. He was like, just go hang out with some jazz musicians. I don't know why. I think he hung out with jazz musicians and he liked them. So he was like, you guys should do that too. Turns out it's kind of hard to find. It's not like, the streets aren't lousy with jazz musicians. But I think it kind of depends. So like if you've got the like I think Kurt Cobain would be a fucking nightmare to be around. And I know he's dead and you're not supposed to speak ill of the dead, but like that's the type of guy where I'd be like, that guy is a fucking nightmare. Even if he wasn't on heroin, I'd be like, nah. No thanks. Or like, have you seen the documentary Dig? I think it's called Dig. About Brian Jonestown Massacre and the Dandy Warhols. Anton Newcomb from Brian Jonestown Massacre. I think he's like kind of more normal now. He doesn't seem like so brutal. But that documentary, I'm like, whew, that is an artist guy. No thanks. But I also wonder too, like, I think the people who are like, I am going to be a artist who gets paid for it, tend to be the ones who are a little bit on the weirder side, right? Because they tend to like gamify things. They tend to gamify art stuff where it's like, if I can publish this here, then I can be seen by an agent, and then I could go to this conference so that I could grab this dude by the collar, and I could force him to come with me to dinner, and then I buy him wine, right? Like stuff that I used to do before I was like, that's gross. But yeah, so if you haven't seen it, I think it's a very good documentary. But Brian Jonestown Massacre is one of my favorite bands. I love the art. I don't really like the people. That's not true. I really liked, I forget the name of the guitarist. Matt Hollywood. I really like Matt Hollywood. He's super cool. I met him. He's very awesome. But Anton Newcomb, respect, mad respect. I can't remember how I got on this subject. Oh. So I'm going to actually go back and read some of these. I love comparing different thought systems, but they're also a huge lengthy waste of time in the streaming format. Yeah, especially when I only have an hour, right? An hour, give or take, an hour and a half. I can't make the Wednesday streams as reliably, but I hope those streams are going well. Yeah, it's fine. Those are... You don't have to make it to those. It's not like a... I mean, nobody has to come to any of these streams. Like if I'm just playing a game that I enjoy, that's like great. You know what I mean? Like I can just talk. I can just pretend there's 1,000 people here and there's no problem, and I just talk and talk and talk, and I have no issue with that. The streams that really frustrate me, it really frustrates me when people don't come to their Game Jam stream. That really annoys me, like really, really a lot. And I understand that I missed the week, or that because I just forgot, because I thought I had streamed. But then I streamed last Thursday, and nobody came. Like, nobody. I did the whole stream by myself. 2 hours. 2 hours in which I commented on most of the Game Jam games, and no one came. And the people who didn't submit, I don't expect you to come because you didn't submit, right? Like, unless you want to see me comment on games, there's no reason. But if I'm commenting on your fucking game, like, I get it. You know, your kid's sick, your dog, I don't know, got a new job, and you have to take him to training. Yeah, like, I get this shit happens, but, like, I mean, there are people who just never come. Like, they never come to their Game Jam game. And to me, it's just like, then why am I giving this to you for free? Like, why am I telling you? Like, these games tonight. Like, I understand that these people probably have something to do, but, like, I'm not going to play these games. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to just give them free advice, and they're not going to come here and at least help me stream. You know what I mean? Like, that is what frustrates me. Yeah, that's weird. Getting your game streamed live to an audience who cares is a huge deal for a small indie dev. Yeah, right. Like I'm effectively. So here's something that Pinky talked about a lot in our MFA as well. He said to us, you should value and be kind to the people who are in your MFA with you right now, because they are the last captive audience you will ever have. Right? Captive meaning they have to read your story because it's part of their grade. You know? And that's important because you don't get that in normal every day. You don't get people who are fucking dedicated to this and they really care about it. You know, they really care about seeing it done well. You don't get that in the wild. Like, I can't hand my story to my wife. She doesn't give a shit. She doesn't give a shit about whether or not I use the scene structure correctly. Not at all. She doesn't care about objective correlatives. She doesn't care about symbols. She doesn't care about character development. She doesn't care nothing. As long as it makes her smile or laugh or go, "Oh," that's all she cares about. That's it. And she's not going to give me very good advice. I love her to death, but she's not going to give me very good advice. Not very good, like, detailed, here's a great idea for you. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not her, and that's fine. You know, like, I can't tell her how to be better at her job. I don't fucking know what I'm doing. Can't do it. And so it's the last time in the MFA is the last time that you'll ever have somebody who cares as much about it as you do, maybe, giving you advice. And so you should be kind to this person. And yeah, so for me, it's like, I don't give out prizes. I don't give out prizes for these jams because I can't, because I have no money and I don't want to. You know, I've always treated this like workshop. And I really appreciate when the people go in to do the comments. I love that shit. I love reading the comments on other people's jam posts. I just don't ever want to say anything about it because I don't feel like it's my place. Like, I'm not a fucking leader. I'm not going to go in and go, that's a very good comment that Jimmy made about Sally's game story. You know, like, that's not my job. It's not my job. And I think that, and I don't want people to think that they're like, well, I better give the advice that Dylan would give. Or like, I better agree with Dylan in my comments, you know, like, so I just don't say anything. I save all of my commentary for the stream and only the stream. I don't talk about it in the Discord. I don't talk about it in the comments. Nothing. I only talk about it here. And that's by design. Yeah. So people might start worrying that their comments aren't good enough. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I don't do it. I don't want anybody to ever think that I'm even reading them, you know. I do, but I don't want people to think I am. Because it's their comment. It's their opinion on whatever, right? But to not come is when their game is being streamed. That's what's frustrating. And I've made this pretty clear over the past, like, every jam I've done, that whenever I stream a game jam, I look in the chat and I see who's here and I stream your game, because I understand, like, it can be frustrating. It can be frustrating if you come to the stream and then your game doesn't get streamed. Like, that is really bad, you know. Like, I consider that a failure on my part. It's really hard. And so I do my best, but, like, it's kind of impossible. There's not enough time. Anyway, so the point I'm trying to make here is that that's when I get the most frustrated. Is I'm not, like, because my job isn't to make your dreams come true. It's just not. That's not what I want to do. I don't want to just give you free advice for no fucking reason. I'd rather spend the hour writing. You know? So, I don't know. I just think that something has to change. First, I think I'm just going to have to stream less. And second is determining what exactly this is going to continue to be. Because I am fine with it just being like a once every 2 months stream, right? Where we have 1 month that's game jam, and then we have 1 month that's the last 3 weeks of the following month, right? So we have 1 month for a game jam, 1 week for voting, 3 weeks for me to stream it, and then a month off, right? So I have a month off between game jams, between streams. That's an option. And then we can continue on with the Vandaya magazine if Rinzai is even interested in still doing that. He doesn't have to be. It's fine. I just haven't seen him around lately. So I figured he was, digging into whatever he wants to do. All respect to that. That's, do what you got to do. Totally fine. I don't expect anybody to do anything for free for me. So there's that. Or, I don't know. One thing I know for sure is that I'm lowering streams even further, which is crazy. Like, it seems crazy. I think that the every other month thing sounds a little bit better. First, because it's easier for me to plan. Second, because I think it could feel more like an event, and I think events can be more fun than inconsistent streamer doing inconsistent things. And it also is more aligned with, I think, what the original vision of the channel was, which was like the original vision of this channel was play professionally made games, comment on their narrative so you can see what's done well and what's not done well, and then apply that information to your own game when you go to make a game. Right? That's kind of how it worked. And then viewership didn't grow, and nobody came, and and then it died. So that was the original plan, and I just don't think that that's a good plan. It's. I think we have enough evidence now to suggest that it's not working. So what we'll look at instead is either. No, I don't think it's either. I think it's just. I pretty much. I mean, there might be a wild hair day where I'm like, I'm cooking. You know, I'm writing, and I'm like, I should stream, or like, oh, I'm playing a game that I find particularly interesting because of some particular reason with narrative. I'm gonna pop the stream on right now, and if you miss it, you miss it. If you don't, you don't. And I just throw it up on the YouTube, 20-minute video. Hey, you wouldn't believe what I saw in here. Look, here's a great example of an objective correlative. Isn't that nuts? And then I just, okay, peace. And then I leave. And that could happen at any time. It could happen on Saturday morning for me. I hate that car. I fucking hate that car. It is so persistent. I mean, it is every day, that car with that like dry ass timing belt or whatever it is. It's a belt. I don't know what belt, but it's a belt. Yeah, I have that one neighbor with that annoying car. I think everybody has that one neighbor with that annoying car though, you know, and it's always the same sound. Transmission belt. Yeah. Yep. Because here's the thing. I used to be that neighbor. I had that annoying car. It was it was bad. That sounded very bad. But my car made a similar noise only in the mornings and only during the winter. But it was a 92 Toyota Corolla, I believe, and it had 250,000 miles. It cost $1,000. That was hilarious. And that car got me through, all the way through my undergraduate degree. Like, seriously, I'm not kidding. The day after I graduated, my car's engine seized. It seized. Like, it died. Like, I've never experienced the death of something. I know, I am so lucky. Like, it was like, graduation ceremony, that's great. I get in my car, drive home, sleep, wake up the next morning, drive to work, it dies on the freeway, and I'm like, shit. So then I pay for a tow truck, it tows it to what was like not my buddy, but like people I knew. It was my mechanic, like I knew him and I knew his family, and it was like, how's it going, Rick, and he's like, it's going good, Dylan, and he called me and he was like, I don't know what the hell you did, man, but the engine is seized. Like, there is nothing we can do. I was like, give it a Viking funeral then. Like, let's burn that motherfucker. And because it got, like, I bought it like day one of college and it died the day after the last day of college. It was so funny. It was so funny. It was hundreds of. I mean, I drove that car so much, so much. I drove that car in the mountains. I mean, it was a '92 Corolla. I drove it in the mountains of Utah. I went camping in it. I drove it in the desert, windows down, dust in the fucking muffler, in the engine. Never cleaned it. Who gives a shit? Belt squealing every day. Put Dawn dish soap on it. Who cares? Alternator broke like 50 times. Fuck it. Car lived. And then I got a Kia. And then I sold it when I moved to Germany. My car was awesome and I miss it every day. I loved my Kia. Kia Soul. All right. Sorry. So, who's here? I'm pretty sure it's still just Corvinash. Yep. And if you're watching this in the YouTube, the asshole neighbor I had was their fucking muffler. That's intentional. Fuck that. Yeah, okay. Those people would just go straight to hell. Like the person who's like, you know what? You know what's annoying? The sound of an engine. You know what would be awesome if that was way more annoying? Like, who likes the sound of an engine? Who likes that? I don't get it. Like, it's like, who cares? What? That doesn't make any sense to me at all. And like, okay, whatever. You have a loud engine. You have a loud engine. But the people who I just like, fuck you, man, are like yeah, I have an engine, but it's just not annoying enough. Like, I need to make it more annoying. Where's my screwdriver? Transmission belt. Okay, fine. Yeah, right. Maybe you can't afford to fix it. Maybe you don't even know. I mean, I remember my old roommate had no idea what cars were. Like, just didn't understand the first thing about them. He understood that if you turn the key, it turned the car on. And if you push on one of the pedals, it goes. And if you push on the other pedal, it doesn't. Right? And that was the extent of his knowledge. And like, he didn't know that you were supposed to change your oil. He didn't know that you were supposed to take the car in for safety and emissions inspections. He didn't know, like, we got into his car and his CV joint was like bad. it was bad. Bad. And I was like, dude, your CV joint is bad. And he's like, I don't know what any of that means. I just drive the car. Like, dog, you've got to take care of this. That's terrifying. Getting a license should involve basic car care test. Agreed. It doesn't. Not only that, you ready for this, Corbin? You ready for this? In Utah, they got rid of the safety test. You don't need to get a safety test for your car anymore. It's not a requirement by state law. You could just skip it. Just skip it. No big deal. Yeah, what the fuck indeed. Not a requirement, right? And I go into work that day, the day they made it not a requirement, and I was talking to my boss was like, oh, hallelujah, we finally don't have to deal with all these government types. You know, I mean, he works for the Air Force. He is a government. He benefits from the government more than anybody I've ever met. And he's like, thank God we don't have to deal with all these government types. You know what I'm saying? Like, all this safety shit. We don't have to take our cars in. I'm like, I actually think that's probably a good thing. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, because if my friend has absolutely no idea how cars work, and if his car just suddenly breaks on the freeway and kills your family, it's going to be because he wasn't required to get a safety test on his car. You know? Like, there are some good ones. Sweet, I'm never driving there ever. No, just certainly do not. Especially in the north. Like, you can go to the south part of Utah. That's where all the cool stuff is anyway. That's where all the pretty stuff is. Don't go to the north part of Utah. That's where all the people live, and I've said it before, but it's like apocalypse. I mean, it's an apocalypse place to drive, because people don't understand that you can't pass on the right. They don't understand that that's not, that's a very dangerous maneuver to pass somebody on the right. You shouldn't do that. That in Utah is like, who the fuck cares? Also, shoulders are just extra lanes. Doesn't matter. Like, it's the most dangerous place I've ever driven. And I've driven in Germany, and they drive on sidewalks here. And here is like nothing. And they drive over 100 miles an hour on the freeway. And it feels safer, like much safer than it does to drive in Utah. Like a lot safer. Also because all the cars are small here versus in Utah where they're gigantic. So everybody's driving like 85 miles an hour, and they're passing each other on the right, and they're all driving giant trucks. It's horrible. It's a horrible place. Horrible place to drive. Yeah, 100, yeah. Yeah, 160 km. Yeah, no problem. No problem at all. No problem at all. And they're passing on the right. They're passing on the right. So if you're in front of a semi, you can't see shit. And here comes a truck, and it's going 160 km. And it's passing on the right. You know, you're a fucking blind spot that you can't see. Woo, boy. Yeah, it's bad. Don't drive in Utah. But it's also because people literally don't care. Like people will drive slow in the fast lane. They'll go 65, which is the minimum. Well, it's the speed limit, right? 65 on or 70 on the freeway. So they'll drive 65. They'll go under the speed limit in the fast lane. And the fast lane, by the way, is actually the passing lane. It's not even meant to be the fast lane. It's not. You don't drive in the fast lane to go fast. You drive in the fast lane to pass. It's the passing lane. There's the merging lane, cruising lane, and passing lane. And you get in the passing lane to pass, and then you get back in the cruising lane, and then you cruise. And then when you're merging off, you get into the merging lane and you merge off. And that's it. That's driving. It's the complete thing. The whole fucking thing for freeway driving. But people in Utah, doesn't matter. Drive 65 in the fast lane, go 185 miles an hour on the right lane, passing on the right, passing a semi on the right in his ultimate blind spot. Snow, sleet, ice, doesn't matter. Dead of winter, in the middle of a rainstorm. It's just like, the people get worse at driving in the middle of a snowstorm. It doesn't matter. It is crazy. I hated driving there. Hated it. Oh yeah, and people also just drive in the HOV lanes, like the carpool lanes. So it doesn't matter. So fuck it. And then just drive in the carpool lane, no big deal. Brrr. I'm alone, doesn't matter. Brrr. Oh, there's a person in front of me who's in the carpool lane. I'll just get out of the carpool lane, pass him on the right, and then get back into the carpool lane. No big deal. Brrr. It's just an extra fast lane. It's just it's like choke worthy. Some controlled access freeways around here have keep right except to pass signs, as if that isn't somehow. Yeah, right. Like what else do you do? I just don't understand the logic. Like, of course that's what it's for. There's 2 lanes. You drive in the right lane, and if you're passing, you go on the fucking left lane. End of discussion. And then, when you're done passing, you go back into the right lane. Because that's where you're supposed to go. That's how traffic works. That shit. That annoys me more than people not coming to this stream. Let me tell you what. That annoys me way more. Because that is like, that actually puts my life at risk. Because you don't have to go get a test to drive, apparently, in Utah. Nor do you need to get safety done on your vehicle. Okay. Well, nobody came, except for Corbin. I appreciate it, Corbin. But I'm going to leave with this. For now, assume that we're not going to stream these Game Jam games. Because if nobody's coming, I'm not streaming them. I'm not giving out free advice anymore. You at least have to come to the fucking stream. And I am not going to be streaming like the normal everyday Vanda Yaha Game Jam stream next week. Or game stream. I'm going to stream the Etienne. I think we're doing our final Kickstarter stream for Etienne's Kickstarter next week. I think it's the last one. If it's not, then it's the second to last one. So we'll be streaming that. And then I don't think I'll stream. I'll probably write. Maybe I'll stream myself writing, but I don't think so. I just want to feel what it feels like to just like not have a thing to do on Thursday from 7 to between 9 and fucking 10 or whatever, however long I stream. Wish I had a game for you, but I got to brush up on my marketable skills for a remote job. Fair enough. That's actually also. Do you want to link up? Do you want to share some notes? I would also like to brush up on marketable skills for a remote job. All I want is a remote job. It's the only thing I want. I got rejected from Paradox, the Paradox Interactive, the game company, the ones that make like Stellaris and Crusader Kings and, you know, like huge game company. I was so excited, and I went into the interview. Dream job. I mean, it was like writing science fiction for Stellaris. Dream job. Dream job. Couldn't get better. And got into the interview, met with them. They said, when can you move to Stockholm? And I said, I can't. Because I live in Germany and I'm not learning Swedish too. I just learned German. I'm not doing Swedish too. And they were like, thanks for coming. Boop. I was like, fuck. Well, that's actually not entirely true. They said, are you open to moving to Sweden? And I said, not really. We could see what the future holds, but not really. And they said, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, well, see, here's my dream. I really want to write it. I really, really want this job remote. I will do anything. I said this in the interview. I will put a chip in my body. I will call the boss and live stream my screen to him. I will live stream my day-to-day work on Twitch. I will do whatever you want. Anything you want to monitor my workday. I will give you tier 0 access to my computer so you can watch what happens on my screen. I will work 8 hours a day for you. No questions asked, no problem. This is my dream job. And they were like, that's great. I really appreciate all the things you're willing to do for us. So what are you thinking, like in a year you could move to Stockholm? I'm like, I don't know. Probably not. And they were like, okay, well, thanks. Click. Nope. My marketable skills are programming frameworks. I will legit teach you basics if you want. If I remember correctly, you don't enjoy it. I really don't. I really don't enjoy programming. I just mean more like how to convince people to hire you remotely for what you can do, right? Because presumably you need to find certain companies. Shit, why can't it be remote work? Great question. I ask that question all the time. I actually am really struggling to think of jobs which can't be remote. I really struggle to think of white-collar jobs that can't be remote. Matter of fact, I think that almost all of them should be remote. I think it's better for the environment. I think it's better for the mental well-being of basically everyone. I think, you could even have, I don't know, once every 2 week fucking Friday fun days where everybody goes and they do, team building exercises where they fall into each other's arms or whatever. And that way all the team still likes each other. I'm not convinced that any of that shit is necessary, but maybe that's just my cyberpunk disposition. I hope you have a few other opportunities that don't require moving like that. I've got to go to a meeting right now. Thanks for the stream. You got it. That actually is a good cue for me to end the stream, but I'm just going to say, don't bother coming next week unless you want to come to the Etienne stream, because I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be doing something else, because you can consider this my partial retirement from the Vandayaha game stream. I don't know what the future holds, but it will probably involve every 2 months we'll stream Game Jam games, and I'll have a month in which we have a game jam. Maybe it'll just be 2 weeks. I don't fucking know, but it's going to be once every 2 months probably I'll stream. And it's also going to be, if nobody fucking comes to the jam stream, then I'm going to turn it off immediately. And that's kind of it. Because this stream just doesn't work if people aren't here. It just doesn't work. I need people to bounce off of. But that's okay. It's okay. And I'll actually leave on this. Right? And this is actually just more generalized advice that I've been thinking about for the last couple of days. And Corvid, if you're gone, great. If you haven't left, you can leave. It doesn't matter. This will be a YouTube video later. The advice I will give you is this. There are things that are, well, there's some advice that Pinkney gave me. He said, your job isn't to be successful. Your job is to fail as quickly as physically possible, because eventually you won't fail. Right? Fail fast. That should be your goal. Either succeed or fail very quickly, because you don't have a lot of time to make stuff. You don't have a lot of time to get good at something. You don't have a lot of time to especially in creative pursuits. Now, this doesn't always apply to like guitar. Like, I'm not saying like pick up a guitar and after an hour, if you're not fucking Jimi Hendrix, then like throw it out the window and move on to the drums. That's not what I mean. But what I mean is, because a guitar takes like a lot of dedication. But if you're good at something, if you think that you're good at something, if you think you're good at writing, if you think you're good at game development, if you think you're good, right? If this is something you want to do, and you're working on a project in this sphere, you know, you're working on a game, you're working on a story, you're working on a stream, you're working on a YouTube channel, you're whatever blog, doesn't matter. If you're working on a project, fail very quickly. Right? Don't linger. Don't try and drag a dead thing along with you down the road. If it's dead, it's dead. Let it be dead and move on to the next thing. Right? Move on to a new project. Move on to a new story. Move on to a new game. Move on to a new, right? Unless you're having fun. If you're having fun, you are succeeding, right? Because the drive for you to do that thing is to have fun. Does that make sense? I don't know why I said that. I'm alone. So there's for example, fighting games or Magic. Magic is a better example. I play Magic all the time. I love Magic. I have fun from the moment I start playing Magic to the moment I stop playing Magic. I love every moment of Magic. Even when I'm mad, I love Magic because I'm having fun, right? And to me, getting good at Magic is never a waste of time, even if it takes me hours to get good at it. Hours and hours and hours of practice and losing and fucking things up and making mistakes and being pissed at something and this and that. It's fun. And I enjoy it. And so it's not a waste of time. And that's not something I'm going to give up on because I just love to do it, right? I always have fun doing it. Writing is the same for me. Projects that I am not enjoying, I will give up on. Writing, I will never give up on. Magic decks that I am making, like, I'm going to make a green-white, I don't know, Angels deck. If it sucks, and I delete it and I move to the next deck. Right? If the story is not good, if the novel's not going anywhere, delete it. Or not delete it, but throw it in a drawer and come back to it later. Right? But if the story sucks, just get it out of your sight and move on to the next thing. If your blog's not getting any traction, change the blog. Right? There's no sense in just like, well, if I just keep doing it over and over and over again, eventually I'll find my audience. No, you won't. You will find your audience very quickly if you find it. It will come very suddenly because you will hit on something that is good. And people will go, wow, this is good. And then they'll download it a lot, right? It was the same thing with my magic blog. You know, like I've been doing this stream for months. And I have topped at like 15 people. I post one blog and I get 700 reads. 700 people read what I wrote, right? And that was huge for me. That was such a huge validation for me. Huge. And so I'm just not the type of person who sits and goes, well, as long as I keep going with it, as long as I keep working at it, one day I'll get there. No. I like streaming. I do enjoy it, so I'll keep doing some form of stream. Intermittently because I enjoy it. But I'm not going to just be consistently here beating my head against the wall for no reason, right? And I suggest you do the same. You know, if you've been working on something for a long time and you think it's not good or it's just not going anywhere, you just don't know what's wrong with it. Just put it away and do something else just for a while. Maybe you can return to it, maybe not, but just do something else. There's no point in just fail. Just fail already. Fail already and go on to the next thing. Okay? And that's what I'm doing now. I'm failing in front of you, and I'm telling you that I failed in front of you. And now I'm going to go on to the next thing. So, good luck to me.